can I just welcome you all here today to the Farmers Journal first ever Agri Careers Fair. I really hope that you all get something out of the day and that you find it was worth the trip. We have huge crowds here, so we're delighted with the success of the event, and we just hope that you're just as happy that you made the trip up. So this slot is all about internships and graduate programs. And we want to use this slot just to give you guys an insight into what these kind of programs involve and how you can benefit from them if you get accepted onto these types of programs, and also how the employer, I guess, benefits from you. So our first intern, I guess. She's not an intern anymore, but Evelyn Garland is the final year food and agribusiness management student in UCD. And Evelyn completed internships in the Irish Farmers Journal, in the National Dairy Council, and also with Teagasc in Ashtown. So Evelyn, can I just start with you and ask, particularly with the National Dairy Council, what did you do in your role there?
Well, my role was pretty varied. So we started off with National Dairy Week. I got to take part with the likes of the Milk Quality Awards down in Thurles. I met a huge variety of people with that. I also worked on National Dairy Week, which was a week-long event taking place in the likes of the Family Farm Zoo in Dublin. But probably the main event and experience that I've taken from that internship was working as Managing Director of Taste of Dublin.
So Managing Director of Taste of Dublin as an intern. What did that role involve, Evelyn? Because that sounds like quite an official title with a lot of responsibility.
Well, I'm not going to lie. When I got approached with the position, I was extremely nervous. I'm pretty sure I cried the first day. But once the event was finished, I was extremely proud of myself. There was a huge amount of work that went into it from beginning to end. It was a 2 or 3 month process where we were in the office, 9 to 5, organising everything from food sampling to food safety, marketing of the whole event, even little things like coordinating times and locations to make sure suppliers were on time and to make sure that we had enough marketing around the event. But probably the main highlight of the whole event was getting to work with famous faces like Roz Purcell, the Carneys, Kevin Dundon, famous faces that you wouldn't usually get to work with. So that's something that I definitely walked away from.
And did you enjoy working with the Carney brothers in particular?
Sure, who wouldn't?
So, Evelyn, Taste of Dublin, I'm sure you've all heard of it. It's a very well-known event, and I think 40,000 people passed through the doors of it the year that Evelyn was running it. So, as an intern, did you feel that maybe you were being underpaid for such a huge role? There's this typical image of in some cases of interns being free labour. It sounds like in your case that you were doing a pretty big job for somebody who is still in college.
I'm not sure if I'd say whether I got underpaid for it or not, but I definitely think with an internship from whatever level it is, it's all about what you put into it. So if you're going to sit back and just let things happen, it's not going to go anywhere for you. I think it's all about what you put into it, what you put into a work experience, what you put into your placement is what you'll get out of it. And the people that you meet will then stand with you for probably the rest of your career. Like being here today, seeing your faces from when I worked with the Farmers Journal, it's something that'll stand to you and it'll stand to your career.
Okay, well, thanks, Evelyn. Our next speaker is Jean Cotter. She's Trade Marketing Manager with responsibility and oversight of all brand and customer support related activity for Dairygold food ingredients in Ireland. And Jean studied food marketing and entrepreneurship in UCC. And Jean, you were the first commercial graduate that Dairygold took on, and you entered in September 2013. You were sent on a trade show to Frankfurt in November. Tell me a bit about that and kind of what happened next, I guess.
Yeah, so I suppose I started as the commercial graduate in September 2013, and in the November I got the opportunity to travel to Frankfurt to a trade show called Food Ingredients Europe. There was a big group of us went out there, about 12 people, including the head of Dairygold Food Ingredients. So it was a pretty big deal for me, only being in the company a few months. So the trade show went great, a bit of a daunting experience considering I was so new into the company, but I learned a lot from it. And shortly after I got home, I was asked to manage and organise our next trade show, which we were exhibiting at, which was Gulf Food, and that was on in Dubai the following February. So it was a bit of a shock to be asked at such an early stage in my career to, organise such a big event. But I was delighted to be asked, and I've been organising that trade show for the past 3 years.
Okay, so I guess from Dairygold's point of view, they were bringing you over to give you a training to do a job that you had no idea. Were you
I was oblivious.
Were you terrified when you found out that you would be running this in the Middle East, kind of, you were in charge of the next one?
I was pretty nervous, and I had no one to kind of ask, what exactly am I meant to do, but it was in conjunction with Board BIA, and Board BIA were such a great help to me, and they really kind of made it easy for me and told me exactly, when and where things had to happen. So, if it wasn't for them helping me, God, I don't know what would have happened, but it all went great, so.
Okay, and our next speaker is Neil Swan, who is... Neil Swan, he studied economics and management in Queen's, then he worked in an accounting firm, and then he entered Dunbea's graduate program in 2009. And what's really interesting about Neil is that within 2 years, so at the age of 25, he was made general manager of Dunbea Primary, meaning he was over 320 people. So Neil, can you please tell us, who do you know?
I must know the right people, but no, within 2 years of obviously graduating and doing the graduate program within Dunbea, I had the opportunity to learn everything from the lairage side of the business through the slaughter hall, boning hall, and into the retail packing operations. And as well, Dunbea have many sites throughout the UK and Ireland, and I got the opportunity to spend time at nearly all those sites. And it just so happened at the end of the 2-year graduate program that the position of general manager in Dungannon came up, and I applied for it and was successful. So.
And were you afraid? I mean, were you a little bit terrified of the prospect of managing 320 people who I can imagine a lot of them were older than you if you were only 25 at the time?
Yeah, a lot of them are older than you, even the managers and things, but I look at that as a challenge. You're always trying to prove yourself every day, and as long as you treat them with the same respect that they treat you, you'll have no issues at all. No, I look at it as a challenge. I don't look at anybody with age. It doesn't really matter.
And why do you think you were given that role and that responsibility at such a young age?
I suppose it's just a desire, and it comes down to your personal attitude. You take pride in your work, and you want to do your best. And I suppose it's just that eye for detail and always trying to do your best for the business.
Okay. And Jean, your job title is Trade Marketing Manager with responsibility and oversight of all brand and customer supported related activity for Dairygold Food Ingredients Ireland. Can you please tell me and the audience what exactly that entails?
Well, I suppose the short title is just Trade Marketing Manager. I recently got into the role, so officially actually from the 1st of March. So this is my first official week as Trade Marketing Manager. But I suppose some of my main responsibilities would include being the central point of contact for customers through a number of different touch points, such as customer inquiries, customer service, complaints monitoring, and then brand and product advertising and promotion. And I'd also oversee the trade shows and events that Dairygold go to. So yeah, it's a pretty varied role, but it's kind of the path I wanted to go down. So for the first year of my graduate program, I worked on the sales side of things. And then after about 16 months, I was moved over to the marketing side of things, and I really enjoyed that. So I was delighted to be able to secure a full-time role, in the marketing side. So.
And do you feel that the graduate program that you did prepared you and kind of molded you for such a role? And is that in tandem with, maybe was this an area that you were always kind of gearing towards that you wanted? Or was it a combination of both?
Well, I suppose I did food marketing and entrepreneurship in college, so I always knew I wanted to go down the marketing route, and I always knew that I wanted to work in the food business. And then Dairygold really did prepare us for managerial and leadership roles. On the graduate program, you complete an 18-month diploma in management and leadership. So it's a level 6, and it's accredited by the Chartered Management Institute. So we did loads of different modules on that diploma. We did project management and people management. So we were kind of geared up towards becoming future leaders of the company.
Okay. And Evelyn, you also did an internship in the Irish Farmers Journal. So have you any secrets to spill about the inside workings of the Farmers Journal? Or have you, you know, it's a newspaper. Had you any misperceptions about a newspaper? Or what was the biggest surprise to you when you came in about working in a newspaper, given that you weren't studying journalism?
Well, I think I was really surprised at the fact that you span across the whole of Ireland and you have an engagement with everyone throughout Ireland. I was really surprised to see the uptake of the newspaper. When I started working there, I didn't think that there would be so many articles written on the topic of agriculture. I think for me, not from a farming background, it gave me the basis to start with. I feel like now, after having worked with the Farmers Journal, I know a lot more about the agricultural industry, which I think will potentially help me with future employment. In terms of secrets, now I'm not sure I can share any of them, but I definitely think with the Farmers Journal, they just allowed me to explore whatever I wanted to do, and they gave me the ability to do that. So if we had meetings about upcoming articles we were planning on publishing, if I had an idea and I wanted to progress with it, I was able to do that. For instance, I did a 6-week fitness series, which was really, really popular. We actually ended up doing a YouTube video, and I was in the absolute freezing cold in the middle of January in a park. I don't know why, but it was brilliant because the uptake of the video was fantastic. We got like 404 views in the first 3 days. So it was just new and different ideas and opportunities that the Irish Country Living magazine hadn't seen. I think they really appreciated like a new and fresh face to get those ideas into the paper.
Okay, and Evelyn, you know, you're not from a farming background, you're from Dublin, Skerries, if I'm right. And
That is correct.
And Neil, you're actually not from a farming background either. And, you know, Neil is in Dunbia, which is based in Dungannon in County Tyrone. And Neil, you actually, you know, started working in Dunbia on the factory floor of a meat processor as a student when you were a late teenager. So why, if you weren't from a farming background, I guess, what brought you into Dunbia in the first place?
Well, I suppose back from my hometown of Dungannon, with two main industries, which is the agri-food industry. There's 3 big employers in the area, and also the engineering sector. The fact that my father was employed within the meat industry as well, I sort of maybe followed him into it. So that's where I sort of learnt my trade from him. And then, as we talk about placements, in the summertime and Easter time when I was off school, I was working in Dunbia on the floor, whether it be in the stores department or the sales department. And so from that, I sort of learnt the business, wee bit of a department at a time, and that helped me along my way until I applied to the graduate program. So.
And Neil, you studied economics and management in Queen's, and I know that before you entered the graduate program with Dunbia, you worked in an accountancy practice. So what made you switch? You obviously had made some kind of decision to maybe go down the accountancy route, and then you switched from accountancy to agriculture. So just maybe talk us through that decision a little bit.
Well, I suppose like maybe most of you after university, you're looking for your first job, and you're looking for a job that obviously pays well and has career prospects. I thought to myself after doing economics and management that I would try my hand at accountancy. I done it for about 9 months till a year, and I just didn't see myself being happy in that role for the rest of my life. Personally, sitting behind a desk every day just wasn't for me, and crunching numbers. So I thought, if I don't see myself happy in this for the rest of my life, make the step, change now, and go. I probably fell back to what I was used to in terms of the food business. I thought I was happy there before. Maybe that could be the future for me.
No regrets?
No regrets yet.
No regrets yet. And Jean, so you have organised Gulf Food now in Dubai for 3 years in a row. That sounds quite glamorous. I'm sure a lot of people in this room, myself included, wouldn't mind flying to Dubai to work. Now, is it all work? Is it very glamorous? It sounds very glamorous, but how would you describe the holiday versus work elements?
It's not glamorous at all. I suppose if you look at today and how busy it is, multiply that by 100. There's about 60,000 people come through the doors every day, and the show is 5 days long, so it's tough going, standing there for 5 days, you know. answering questions. So, but you know, there's an upside as well. You know, you get to do the sightseeing and the touristy type things, and you know, get a cheeky handbag. So, it's not all negative.
It's not all bad.
No.
And Evelyn, tell me, you did 3 different internships, you know, with Teagasc in Ashtown, with the National Dairy Council, and with the Irish Farmers Journal. What's the one biggest thing that you learned that kind of resonated with you, maybe in one particular organisation or maybe across the 3 of them? What did you come away with after doing all those internships?
Well, I definitely think putting yourself out there and stepping out of your comfort zone was the main thing for me throughout all 3 of those internships. With the Farmers Journal, the fitness thing that I did, that was me stepping outside my comfort zone. I didn't think I was allowed to do it, but I offered my suggestions, and it ended up it became a 6 week article every week. In terms of the National Dairy Council, I took on the role of managing director, Taste of Dublin. Again, I didn't think I'd ever dream of a position that big in an internship role, but again, I stepped outside of my comfort zone and I began to learn a lot more things about myself. You'd be very surprised with the amount of people skills you learn, communication skills, public speaking. Like, I would never have been able to see myself do something like this 2 years ago, because I definitely would have just been backed away at the idea. But I think the more experience you gain, the more people you talk to, the more you learn about yourself, the more comfortable I think you become in yourself, and you learn a lot more that way.
Okay, and Jean, from the graduate program that you did, what do you think is the biggest thing that you got out of that?
Well, I suppose the diploma in management and leadership really stood to me, and now with my role as trade marketing manager, you know, I can really put all the tools and skills that I learned on that diploma to use. And again, like what Evelyn said about, you know, the more people you talk to, kind of the more confident you become. As part of the graduate program, we had to do an in-house project and present it back to the senior leadership team and the CEO of the company. So that was really daunting and scary, but you know, once it's done, you feel great afterwards. So really just putting yourself out there as much as you can, because you really benefit from it in the long run.
And is Jim Wolfe a scary guy to make a presentation? I know he's here today. I don't know if he's listening.
Hi, Jim. No, not at all. He's lovely and he's really supportive. And, you know, he asked us all questions once we were finished our presentation. But he was so lovely about it. And, you know, everyone had such a nice day and just relieved for it to be over.
Okay, I think brownie points for you if Jim is listening. And Neil, what about yourself? What do you think is the biggest thing that you learned during your graduate program? What's the most important thing you got from it?
Well, obviously it's the background experience of actually doing the jobs yourself firsthand. So in my role, that if I'm talking to someone, for example, older than me or a manager than me, I can actually lift a knife and trim that animal or trim that butcher up. I can actually do it with my own hands rather than just saying, why can't you do that or whatever, you know. So I have the experience, which is like the first stepping stone till my role now. So.
And tell me, Neil, do you find that people have misperceptions about what working in a meat processing plant involves? Because what you just described, I think, is typically what many people would associate with what happens in that kind of facility. But there's a lot more to it. So what do you meet misperceptions when you're telling people where you work?
Yeah, well, obviously the first misperception whenever you hear probably someone's from a meat plant is you're thinking of somebody with a knife in their hand all day. But it's just the fact that from my own site and factory, you have so many different roles that people aren't aware maybe exist. We have everyone from the likes of marketing, we have procurement, we have NPD, we have technical and maintenance staff. So it's all those different areas that maybe you don't think of whenever you think of a meat processing plant.
And Jean, you studied food marketing and entrepreneurship in UCC. Tell me why you were interested in that course, and then tell me why you wanted to work in Dairygold. Was this the career path you always envisioned that you would go down from 6th year, or did things kind of evolve during your course?
Yeah, well, I suppose I wanted to do commerce originally, but then I just thought that I wanted something extra. So I've always been interested in the food business. So food marketing and entrepreneurship was actually a new course the year I went into college. So I was the first course to have finished it. And it was a very small course. There was only 35 of us, and it replaced the old food business. So there was the extra aspect of the entrepreneurship. So my dad would be self-employed, so I'd have that kind of entrepreneurship in me. So I kind of wanted to go down that route. So I was thrilled that I actually did do that course. You know, not many were picked for it, so I was delighted to have gotten it. And I suppose the reason I wanted to work for Dairygold, I knew I wanted to work in the food industry. Dairygold is expanding hugely at the moment with the abolition of milk quotas. So we're increasing our milk intake by 60% up to the year 2020. So I knew there'd be plenty of opportunities down the line. So I suppose that was the deciding factor, really.
Okay, and Evelyn, you did 3 very different internships. You're now in your final year of college. You're looking for a job. Did your internships help shape what you want to do now? And maybe can you describe the kind of dream job for you at the moment?
Well, I definitely know I want to do something to do with food. So having worked with the National Dairy Council, I suppose food marketing is definitely something that I want to go down the line towards. Potentially within the nutrition industry, that's quite a specific industry, so maybe not starting out, but maybe further down the line after I do, I don't know, a master's in nutrition or something like that. But ideally for now, the likes of working with Arrivo or Board Bia, marketing products, promoting internationally, both in Ireland and internationally, but would be my main aim.
Okay, and Neil and Jean, I guess you're both there in terms of you're both established in your careers now. What advice do you have for maybe people here in the room who would like to follow in your career footsteps? What advice would you have for them? Maybe Neil, you'd like to go first.
The only advice I can give you, and it's very simple coming from my background, is there's plenty of people here, plenty of jobs and opportunities in different sectors. Be happy in what you do. Pick a job and be very happy and confident that you can do that job for the rest of your life.
Okay, but Neil, just when you're saying for the rest of your life, I know that a lot of people switch careers now, and is that something that you would consider? Are you in a job for life now? Is Dundee listening?
Hard question. No, I'm not considering moving jobs, but you have to see yourself in the long-term goal. Just be happy that that you enjoy your work every day. Who knows what the future holds?
And Jean, what about yourself? What advice do you have for people?
I would definitely agree with what Neil's saying. You know, if you do a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So I would think that's really important when you're going into a job. And also just to put yourself out there as much as you can, to put yourself out of your comfort zone, to go and talk to people and kind of, it might be hard to find a job, but if you really put yourself out there and think outside the box, it'll really pay off for you.
Okay, well, thanks very much to our 3 speakers. I hope you've all gained something from them. And our next talk will be with us shortly. It's Ag Tech Powerhouse, chaired by Peter Young.